What's going on, college football fans, and welcome back to the first and long college football show. I'm your co-host Marcus, and that there is your co-host Mason. And today we are doing our Between the Lines show, something that we did last year. This is our college football betting guide for Week 1. Super excited to bring you guys our picks that we are most excited to get into the betting window for Week 1 of college football season here on Labor Day weekend. So happy college football to all you guys. It is back. Have no fear. We had a good time week 0, but it's going to be nothing compared to what we're going to see in week 1. Isn't that right, Mason? How are you today, man?
Yeah, it's going to be nothing, and compared to what we saw in week 0, our week 0 is going to be nothing in comparison to what we're going to see in week 1. But we're going to also make a lot more money, right? There's a lot more games to pick from. I'm going to say we hit on the Georgia Tech little line there. I didn't get to be a part of that preview show, but I know you picked Georgia Tech to cover. Obviously, they did that. They won outright. I'm really pumped up for this year, Mark. You kind of whipped my ass last year, to be honest with you. I was negative 12 last year on the year. We now, in my defense though, on all of our bets we did Thursday night and later, I was dead even. You know, hey, that's a fun day at the casino, right? When you come home with
Yeah.
the same amount of money you left with. But yeah, excited to do this again. This will be our Thursday night show, which means I should be doing a little bit better this year, but we'll see. I told myself I was going to take it easy in week 1, and ended up with 10 bets. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm just rolling dice here.
I don't have quite that many. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shit, I got 8. So I guess I do I just about have that many. Look, I learned.
Uh,
I think I learned a valuable lesson in week 0. Though I told you I doubled my balance on Bet Now. Not a sponsor, just kind of dropping their name in there. That's who I use, and it was because I only bet on one game, right? And maybe I should learn a lesson and just take my favorite game of the week and just bet my units
Put
on
it
that.
all
But
in. There you go.
that's no fun. That's no fun. We're doing this for the viewers here, and we'll give
It
you
would
guys
make
our
for a
best
really
picks. And
short show. That would be a really short
yeah,
show if we both had one bet. And it was like, all right,
yeah.
hope y'all win.
Hey, maybe we're
Yeah.
barking up the wrong tree. We'll do these little 5-minute videos like these betting shows do. Look, guys, that's what we're doing here today. We're talking lines. We're talking over unders. And look, guys, I have put a description, or excuse me, I have put a link in the description of this video for you guys to come join the show if you want to do so. We'll hear you click in on our headsets. We may not pull you on the show right away. Wait just a minute. Well, as soon as we complete our thoughts or our picks on a game or whatever, we'll get you on in between topics, and we want to know what are you guys picking. I love to hear what everybody else is on. We had a couple of people last year that would come on the show and give their picks every week, and I'd be damned if they didn't hit just about every week. So,
Yep.
we ended up getting some nicknames for some of these guys, and I saw one guy today. I won't say which show it was, but was dressed as the Undertaker on their
That's
bet
right.
on their their betting show, and I thought that was pretty creative. That was pretty sweet. But anyway, man, let's get into it. The guys, this isn't a long show. We give you our picks. We give you a quick our little ditty on why we think that pick is going to win at the win this weekend, and let's jump into it, Mason. Do you have any picks on the Georgia Clemson game? Let's go through the big ones first. We're going to go through the big games, and then we'll talk about whatever other games that we got. Let's give our final thoughts on these big games for the weekend real quick. Georgia Clemson, do you have any picks for that game?
I do. And to be honest with y'all, I've got a lot of favorites that I'm picking this week, which scares me a little bit. But I'm going with Georgia. Minus 13.5 is what I got it in at. I think we've talked about this matchup throughout the week. And when you really break it down, this is virtually a home game for Georgia, right? Being played in Atlanta. That crowd is going to be crazy. But when I look at the matchups, I don't see a path. Like there's no unit that I look at on the field and I say, yeah, Clemson could exploit that. I don't see it. If you want to point out two position groups, I would say the interior of the defensive line for Georgia is a little bit suspect, but Are they going to be able to take advantage of that with their offensive line up front? I don't necessarily know. As a whole, I think Georgia's defensive line is better than Clemson's defensive line. So I'm not projecting some 200 rushing yard game from Phil Maffa or from Clemson as a whole. And therefore, I think that Georgia's going to be able to get some 3-and-outs against Clemson, get the ball a pretty good bit, and just, I mean, hey, be able to score more than 13.5 points. I think they're definitely going to be at least a 2-touchdown win, or they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. I've got them picked to win by about 21 points, and so I feel really comfortable with an extra 7 points to play with.
Well, I'm with you on that pick, Mason. I'm feeling the same way about this game, and as the week has went on, I was a little worried earlier in the week. We've talked about some of the injuries that Georgia has dealt with a little bit, with like Colby Young. The thought that maybe some of the running backs wouldn't play. ETN to be specific. Clemson is missing a wide receiver. I was a little concerned about that at the beginning of the week. And as the week has went on, I just feel really good about Georgia being able to do what they need to do. And then with it coming in, that number coming in under 14, I feel like Georgia can cover, 2 touchdown spread there. And I feel pretty comfortable with that. If this thing got up to 14 or 14.5, I don't think I would bet it. I like where that's at. And even at 13, 13 is kind of a key number. So that hook there may end up getting us, Mason. It's very, very possible. That's a touchdown and 2 field goals. Very, very possible. But I like Georgia's offensive line against this Clemson defensive line. I really think Georgia has one of the best offensive line groups in the country. I'm not the only one who thinks that. And furthermore, I'm not ready to say that Clemson's all their wide receiver problems are fixed. This is going to be a pretty good secondary for Georgia. It is every year. It's always at least pretty good. We'll see if it's really good or great by kind of the end of the season. I just don't see the matchup issues for Georgia in the secondary. Covering those wide receivers from Clemson. That's been what's part of the problem. That's part of what's missing at Clemson over the last few years. Give me Georgia in a minus 13.5. What about the Miami and Florida game, Mason? Miami is a 2.5-point favorite, and the over/under is set at 54 there for Miami at Florida. That's in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville. Do you have a pick on that game?
I do. I've actually got 2 picks. So I'm going to play Miami to win and cover. I think that they can win by at least 3 points. I do think that this is a 1-score game, but I feel pretty confident in what I know about Miami. And guys, I know you all have seen some bets being put out there. A lot of people are picking Florida, right? Which makes me feel pretty comfortable because typically I want to fade the public. And in this case, I think that's kind of what I'm doing here. But also when I look at the rosters, and I know this game's being played in Gainesville, that does play into this a significant amount because it's going to be a tough place to play. It's going to be tough for Cam Ward to play in. I think it'll be the toughest environment he's ever played in. However, when I look at Florida's roster, I don't see much. I don't care about their win total. I don't care about the fact that they may only win 5 games. That doesn't make them a bad team. I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at the matchups. I don't like what I see in on their defense at all. And then I look at Restrepo. I'll look at the tight end room for Miami. I really like Damian Martinez. I think they've got the best offensive line in the ACC. And I really like their dudes. They might have the best defensive line in the country. I mean, when you look at what they rotate in and out, I just don't see a way that Graham Mertz is going to be able to take advantage of this defense with that pass rush. He's not going to have a lot of time to work with. I really like this play, and I don't know why so many people are picking Florida to win this game outright. I just don't see it. Looking at their roster, they are depleted, y'all. It's not going to happen, in my opinion. And then because of the Miami defensive front and what Miami has on defense in comparison to what Florida has on offense, I think the under is going to hit as well. and because of what I mentioned with Cam Ward, could struggle a little bit to start playing in Gainesville in a tough environment. I think it's going to be low scoring up until halftime. You may only have 1 or 2 touchdowns at that point. And under 54, I think that number is just a bit too high considering the defense for Miami specifically. I don't see Florida getting much higher than 13 in this game. I'll take the under all day. I feel better about that bet than I do the -2.5. But I'm pretty sure you got a play on this one. What's your play here?
Yeah, you're stealing my plays before I can even say them. I'm with you. Look, I see two routes this game can go. There's two options in my eyes, right? There's no world that we live in which Florida runs away with this game. I don't see
Yeah.
any world in which we live in. So you've got two options. If Florida's in this game, which is what I guess what Vegas and in turn the public thinks is going to happen, that Florida's going to be in this game. Billy Napier's not a guy that's coming out here and is going to score 40 points a game. That's never going to happen, guys. Billy Napier wants to win 24-17. Okay? And if Florida is going to be successful in this game, it's going to be because they're running the football, they're hitting the play action, they're using the short pass game as an extension of the run game. They're not an explosive football team, especially after you lose your most explosive player on offense last year in Ricky Pearsall. And furthermore, Montreal Johnson, even if he does play, he's not really one that's like an explosive player. He's a very serviceable back. Don't get me wrong, but not a guy that's got like a bunch of touchdowns or anything. He's not getting in the end zone 10 times a year or anything like that. Maybe that's because of who he's played with. I'm not sure, but facts are the facts, stats are the stats, right? So either Miami runs away with this thing and wins like 42-7, and in that case, that's a total of 49, and that still hits the under, or this thing is like, 24-21, right? Something like that. And in that case, the under still hits. So I'm going under 54. By the way, Mason, we've got some line movement there. The line has moving down. It was 55 when we talked about this game the other day. So the line
People
has
were
moved
listening.
to 54. People were listening. There's that look. Hey, they only handed out so many of them 55s,
Yeah.
and we handed, some to our listeners, and we didn't grab any for ourselves. Shame on us. But I'm still feeling pretty good at under 54, and I like Miami to cover the 2.5. If you're going to give me a hook under a field goal, I like that. I totally like that. I could see Cam Ward getting a little squirrely in this game, and I could see Miami playing a little bit conservative early. Right? You got Damian Martinez. Hand him the football. I could 100%, and you trust your defense in this game. I feel like much more than Florida. So I could see a conservative approach, and then things kind of get opened up a little bit in the second half. But give me those two plays in the Miami at Florida game. Cannot wait to watch that one. It's going to be really, really good stuff. And then let's go to our last big game for Saturday before we go to the Sunday game in Vegas. Let's talk about the game that's happening in College Station, Texas. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Notre Dame is a 3-point road dog. So you got Texas A&M favored by 3. We talked about this game a lot this week, Mason. This has been a hot topic of conversation on the First and Long College Football Show. Thousands and thousands of people tuned in to watch our preview, and it's split right down the middle, bud. I mean, it's split right down the middle. You've got neither side wanting to give an inch. Both sides think they're winning this football game. What are your thoughts? Do you have a play on it?
I do have a play on this, and the one I'm most confident in, I've got two plays. I like the under here. I really do. When I look at these offenses, in particular, when I look at the offensive lines versus the defensive lines, I don't think that the offensive line is winning for either team is winning that matchup. I look at the defensive lines for Texas A&M and for Notre Dame, and I really like what I see. Not so much on the offensive line. Notre Dame is inexperienced, and Texas A&M's was pretty bad last year. They do return a pretty good bit. I think that A&M's is a little bit better than Notre Dame's, but And I also think that Texas A&M's defensive line is a little bit better than Notre Dame's, which makes me a little bit apprehensive to play the 3 points. But to me, I think that the under will hit at 46, even though that's a pretty low number. I see this being this game's going to be played in the teens. Like I don't. I think a 17-13 type of game is what we're in for. It's going to be really fun to watch. A lot of casuals will tune out, but for us, it's going to be a slobber knocker, and I absolutely cannot wait. If that's the game that gets played, I think I'm going to have a ball watching it because I really believe in both of these defenses. Um, Texas A&M is stronger up front on the defensive line in the front seven, and Notre Dame's a little bit better on the back end, which makes me think that Wigman's going to have a little bit of a struggle, passing the football and all that. And I like their dudes in the middle of that defensive line for Notre Dame, which makes me think that they're going to struggle to run the ball. And then when I look over at Riley Leonard, he's been banged up throughout spring and fall camp, playing in a new offense. I do like Mike Denbrock a lot, but I don't know that this is the game where Notre Dame's offense breaks out. Right, we're kind of waiting on that. They had a pretty good defense last year. Offense was pretty bad under Sam Hartman. I don't think that this is the game where they score 40. Right, not against this defense, not at Kyle Field. I like Notre Dame to actually win the game, which is why I have them on the money line as well. That's my second play for this game. That's my money line pick of the week. We're obligated to do one a week, Mark. I hope you're prepared for that. But for me, Notre Dame on the money line as well. I think that they're going to be able to go and upset Texas A&M on the road in Kyle Field. It will be a huge win for them, a huge feather in the cap. They absolutely need it. I think they need it more than Texas A&M does to win this game in order to make it to the college football playoff, given their weak schedule. This will be a huge one for them. And also, I think if they do win this game, they're probably going to go undefeated. But yeah, we can talk more about that down the road.
Yeah, man. So we've got line movement on this one as well. It's creeping down, so it seems like a lot of people are feeling like the under is the play as far as over under on this one is creeped down to 46. I tried to correct it here on the screen, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. So excuse me on that, guys. But I totally see where you're coming from, and this game I think is going to come right down to the wire. And I don't think it's going to be. I think the most probable outcome is a low scoring, you know, very conservative in the first half for each team. A lot of runs in the first half of this game. I don't have a ton of trust in either one of these wide receiver units at the moment. I'm kind of on a wait and see approach with Notre Dame, right? Bo Collins, how does it translate coming over from Clemson? I was told by the Clemson fans that he sucked and it was good that he left. Do I believe them? No. But we'll see, right? I have to see him do it in a Notre Dame uniform. Chris Mitchell comes over from FIU, 1,000+ yards last year. What is he going to do, right? These are, and I can sit here and ask the same questions about Texas A&M's wide receiver room because they're about to have to go against what is a really, really good secondary in Notre Dame. Underrated secondary, I think, kind of going into the season. And I think people are going to see it in this game because I think both of these defenses end up getting a couple of turnovers. Texas A&M has got to figure out a way to keep Riley Leonard in the pocket. Who knows Riley Leonard's weakness is better than his head coach from last year, right? You'd feel like this guy would probably have a pretty good idea of what to throw at Riley Leonard to keep him in the pocket. And I think that's, if you're Texas A&M, that's kind of the nucleus of a win here, right? Keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm. We haven't seen him put a team on his back and throw them to a victory. So there's things to prove on both of these offenses here. I think both of the defenses are going to be pretty stout. I like Notre Dame's secondary better than I do Texas A&M's for sure. And I like Texas A&M's offensive line a little bit better, and I like Notre Dame's at this moment. So Notre Dame's breaking in a lot there. So you mentioned the pass rush that Texas A&M's got. That's a matchup that's probably going to dictate this game. Is that Texas A&M pass rush and that Notre Dame offensive line, and that's really and it kind of ties into keeping Riley Leonard in that pocket. Give me Notre Dame +3 if you're giving me, a team like Notre Dame that returns all that talent on defense. I'm going to trust that they're going to be able to get it done against an offense that is not going to be developed at this point, right? This is game one of a new tenure for a head coach and all new staff. It's going to take more than a game to get this offense clicking. Connor Wegman's coming back off injury. He's got to knock the rust off, and he's going to have to do it against. There's no ramp up here. He's going to have to do it against a really talented group. So give me Notre Dame +3. I'm not going to touch the total. I feel like it's gotten too low, but I could 100% see this game being won like 17-14 or something like that, and then I'm going to be kicking myself for being so stupid. LSU, USC, over/under set at 64.5. USC is a 4.5-point dog. And this is, as I said, a neutral site game here. So LSU is a 4.5-point lean for Vegas here. Mason, do you have a play on this bad boy? I mean, there's really only one way to play this thing, I feel like, but or really only a couple of ways to play this thing. Do you have a play on it?
I do. I feel really confident that there's going to be an over here, right? I said it. I said it in the preview of this game in the title. I said, look, this is the two teams that don't play defense. So if you're telling me both of these teams are going to be held to less than 35 points each, I'll call bullshit. Like that doesn't sound right to me. To me, you've got two teams that have struggled on defense for a while now, and I don't think that they're going to correct that in week one. I do think that the defenses will be better as time goes on, but I don't think it's going to happen in week one. The challenge here, though, for me is you've got two new quarterbacks that you're breaking in. Are they going to be ready to put up 40 points per game like we're used to seeing out of these two teams out of the gate as well? Right, that's kind of the contradiction, I guess. But I'm banking on the fact that they're going to have a little bit of an easy going at it for week one because of the defenses that they're facing. So this play is strictly on the defenses, and knowing that you're going to get some pretty good offensive play out of both teams. I like LSU to cover as well. That's also a play that I'm making this week. LSU -4.5. When I look at the dudes that LSU has, right? They bring in Blake Baker at defensive coordinator. Again, he's new. It's the first week. I really like what he did at Missouri, but we don't really know what we're going to get. I just think that he's got a little bit more athletes to play with on that side of the football than USC has, right? Also, I look at LSU's offensive line, which might be the best in the country. They probably have two offensive tackles that are going to go in the first round, maybe the best in Will Campbell in the country. And so for that, I'm placing my money on LSU to win this game. They're going to win it in the lines of scrimmage. And when you look at when you look at USC's defense, their best strength on defense was their pass rush. So what's going to happen when they can't get to the quarterback, right? Because of the offensive line play. I think it spells for a pretty good little day for LSU and their offense. It concerns me a little bit about the overplay, but at the same time, if I could split here, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with my gut on this thing. My gut has been telling me all week, and just today I've started feeling like LSU Mike can cover this thing. Mike can win by a touchdown, and I still think that is a super probable outcome, Mason. But I'm going to stick with USC. Give me the points. USC +4.5, and I'm going to take the over as well. I'm going to stick with my original thoughts on this thing. I think that this is a shootout, and I think whoever has the ball last wins this football game. We're still unclear about Chris Hilton, who is expected to be a big part of this LSU wide receiver room. Here's my biggest concern with my play, and kind of plays into what you're talking about, at least for one of your plays. What if LSU just decides they're going to run the damn football,
Right.
right? What is USC going to do about that? That is a major concern to me. What does this offense look like? Because honestly, there would be nothing better for LSU than to be able to run the football week one, put it on film, and then just play action your ass off right into the SEC play. And I don't know who LSU's got next week. Probably a nobody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put anything on film. Then you could run the football this week and probably win this football game. And not really put a ton on film and give yourself a second to get healthy. And who knows what the game plan is on that. But with Chris Hilton a little banged up, I would suspect they'd be trying to, just get him healthy because you're going to need him for a long season. I'm going to stick with my bets though. I feel like LSU has really done nothing to address this defense other than Blake Baker. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we talked about earlier this week. I won't go through my whole spiel, but it's a lot of the same guys. A lot of the same guys, and just shuffled around a little bit. And by the way, Sage Ryan been dealing with a hamstring. That's a guy who's really supposed to be moving all around in this Blake Baker defense. Safety, he's kind of a corner safety. He can play whatever. He's very versatile. How's he going to do that, right? This is a game where you're going to be running. You're going to be running a lot, right? How's he going to be able to do that with a hamstring? We'll see. This game scares me a little bit. I cannot lie to you. If you're watching this and you're betting my bets, maybe this is the one that you don't. I'm not going to put like a bunch of money on this, but I am going to stick with my gut, and we'll see where my gut takes me this weekend. Give me USC over, or excuse me, give me USC in the points. I don't necessarily think USC is going to win this game. By the way, guys, I think this is like a 3-point victory either way. I think it could easily go that way, and so that's kind of why I'm playing that 4.5 there. Mason, that's all our big games for the weekend. Where you want to go? What else you got? Because I've only got one other play I want to play outside of these big games. So,
Well, I'm going to go to the next biggest game in Penn State in West Virginia, for a lot of the same reasons as the Miami versus Florida game. I'm going to go with the under 51.5 for West Virginia and Penn State. When I look at Penn State's defense, I think that they are going to be really, really good once again. One of the best in the country. They got really good dudes coming off the ends. They got really good linebacker play. I think they're pretty good in the secondary. But don't get me wrong, I do like West Virginia's offense. I love Garrett Green. I think that he's going to have a hell of a year. But I don't think that West Virginia is going to be able to put up more than about 20 points in this game. On the flip side, I look at Penn State and that offense and what they did last year, and I do think that Kotelnicki is going to have a pretty good year as the offensive coordinator for Penn State. They just brought him over from Kansas, but I don't think that week one is the week that they figure it all out, right? So to me, I think the under 51.5 is the best play, but I'm also going to take Penn State -8 for the same reasons. I think that Penn State's going to be able to hold West Virginia to in the teens, right? And they should be able to score in the high 20s, and that's kind of how I see this game playing out. And if that's the case, then both of these are playing. It should be a 27-13 type of game, something like that. And Penn State covers pretty easily. The under hits pretty easily. I just really like this defense, and I think that this Big 12 offense is going to struggle against really the third best defense in the Big 10, in my opinion.
all right, so I am in agreement with one of your plays here. I like Penn State -8 here. I can't remember the exact score of this game last year. I believe it was 31-17, 34-17. I know for a fact it was right around there somewhere. And I believe this line was, it was kind of looked kind of closer last year. Look, Penn State is not playing Ohio State this weekend. They're not playing Michigan this weekend. when they don't play those two teams, they beat the hell out of people. I
That's
mean,
true.
that is just they wear out anybody that doesn't that isn't a Buckeye or a Wolverine, and it's been that way for years. If you go back and look at Penn State against the spread, and you take out those couple games every year, they're one of the best teams against the spread in the country. James Franklin beats teams that he's supposed to beat, and he beats them badly. As what has West Virginia done to make up that ground from last year? I understand that this is at West Virginia, first game of the year, probably going to be a pretty decent crowd there in Morgantown, and it is a good atmosphere there at West Virginia. But this one's not being played at nighttime or anything like that. This is going to be kind of a sleepy kickoff here in a sense. I don't think any West Virginia fans are expecting to win this game necessarily, but here's kind of my underlying thing. Manny Diaz leaves Penn State. He goes off to Duke, but he leaves the cabinet just full of talent on the defense. And this isn't a team that gave up a whole lot of explosive plays. Yes, I understand they lost some pieces to the NFL draft and things like that. I think it's going to be a really, really good defense again. West Virginia, I think, is going to struggle. They were kind of an all or nothing offense last year. It was either big plays or it was punts, and I don't think this Penn State team is going to be, reeling to the effect that they're going to be giving up big plays left and right. Maybe one or two, because Garrett Green he's a playmaker. He's got moxie, right? He's a player that is just gritty as hell, and he'll probably make a play or two where you're like, holy crap, how'd he do that? But on a down-to-down basis, which is how you're going to have to beat Penn State, I just don't see West Virginia matching up. Furthermore, Penn State loves to run the football. I think they're going to have plenty of opportunity to do that right here. The pretty much defense in general for West Virginia is reeling after a pretty big transfer portal loss from last year, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that great of a showing. We'll see. Give me Penn State minus the points. I'll leave the over/under alone. I'm out of plays. What you got next, man?
The last play that I have for the night is Virginia Tech minus 13.5 over Vanderbilt. We did a breakdown on Virginia Tech. Really like Kyron Drones. I think they've got pretty good play on the perimeter, and a good offense overall. And I like their defense. They've been playing solid defense for quite some time. I'm not going to overthink this. Vanderbilt's depleted. They're losing players to the transfer portal, and I like their quarterback pretty good. I'm hearing good things about him, but ultimately, I think that Virginia Tech should be able to win this by 2 touchdowns pretty easily.
I like your play. I really considered taking this play. I just thought to myself, I don't know enough about Vanderbilt. I need to see him play a couple times because you and I mean, as much as we'd love to dive into, a garbage pile and look for gold with Vanderbilt, we ain't got time. Ain't nobody got no time for that. So I thought about just taking this play just based on the fact that I think Virginia Tech is a team that slept on this year, and I think people are going to start realizing it pretty quickly. I feel like I'm going to kick myself for not making this play, but I've got enough. I got enough to choke a mule over here, so let me just chew on this for the weekend and hopefully not lose my money that I just doubled from last week. Are you out of plays, Mason?
That's it. That's all I got for y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, whenever we're done with the Between the Lines show every week, you know what that means? It's time for football, baby. It's time for kickoff. We're about to watch some football right now. As this show goes off, we're going to watch some Colorado football, so that'll be good stuff. I hope all y'all have a great weekend. Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know right now your plays for the weekend. We want to see them in the comment section. That way we can talk about it next week. We can either brag about it or we can cry about it together, one way or the other. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the First and Long College Football Show. I'm Marcus. That's Mason. You all have a great night and best of luck. Week 1, we'll see you for the reaction show after it's all said and done.